Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
And welcome to the Back of the Range Golf Podcast. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 121. 2 episodes in 1 week? Absolutely. You know, I had a couple days where I was sitting on the couch and I'm watching the news nonstop. And you know what? The coronavirus is going to be a part of our lives for the next few months at least. But I'm not going to let it consume my life. I will practice social distancing. I'll be smart when I need to venture out for more food and supplies. But I'm not slowing down here at the back of the range. I'm going to try and put out more and more episodes. If there's a guest that you have wanted me to interview, reach out to me on social media. Everything is on the table. You can follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The handle is the Back of the Range Podcast. The website is thebackoftherange.com. Every single episode that I have done is available to listen to at any time. So our guest on this episode is Austin Squires from Union, Kentucky, former All-American from the University of Cincinnati. Austin wrapped up his All-American career at Cincy and his amateur career after his quarterfinalist showing at the 2019 U.S. Amateur at Pinehurst. That wasn't a fluke. He was also a quarterfinalist at the 2018 U.S. Amateur at Pebble Beach. Austin was trending in the right direction before the coronavirus put a halt to professional golf. He has wrapped up LatinAmerica Tour and Mackenzie Tour status, and after speaking with him, I get the feeling that he's going to find great success there and move his way up the ranks. Lots of great information in this episode. You know, he's a 22-year-old kid that works hard. He's learned from his amateur and collegiate experiences. A lot has been made of the breakout stars like Hovland, Wolf, and Morikawa, and rightly so. But there are so many talented guys working their way up the ranks that are going to make it to the PGA Tour. I think Austin Squires is one of those guys. It was a blast to get to know him during our conversation, and I think you'll enjoy getting to know him as well. Now, as I said in the previous episode, I'm going to mention to you, the listener, when these episodes were recorded and as well as when they actually post. So this was recorded yesterday, Tuesday, March 17th. This one is posting a day after, Wednesday, March 18th. So, Austin, thanks for joining me. Welcome to the Back of the Range. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to be on. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you are the first episode recorded after the, I guess, March 12th, March 13th, when sports basically shut down all over the world, when everything pretty much has shut down all over the world due to coronavirus. So I'm sorry to put you in that spot where you're the first person I speak to in this new reality that is the world. What are you doing to stay sane? I mean, I know we're only just like a couple days into this, but you're in Orlando. So what are you doing to keep sane right now?
Yeah, I mean, golf courses are still open right now. I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I'm just trying to get as much practice in as I can, but I'm not really going too hard at it because I don't know what next few weeks are going to look like. But yeah, just kind of chilling, just practicing and hanging out with friends, trying to take as much precaution as I can without going crazy.
Yeah.
So just hanging out, just being a 22-year-old.
Yeah. Good luck with that. I mean, it's being a 22-year-old right now. I mean, this is St. Patrick's Day. I mean, you should be, I don't know, drinking green beer and having fun with your friends and partying or doing something. Do you even remember what was the big last party you went to?
Actually, on Sunday night, we went out to a place in Winter Garden up here, the Whole Enchilada. One of our buddies from Northern Ireland was flying out on Monday, so we all got together and kind of like celebrated him and just had a good time. So that was the last time. But before that, I mean, it was just in tournament mode, so didn't really have much time off to really go out. So anytime I'm home, I'm just chilling.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that tournament. I know that you're referencing, the Corn Ferry start, and then obviously, most importantly, you have a card locked up for when things get back going. You have a card locked up for the LatinAmerica Tour. So we're going to talk about that, and I want to kind of start at the beginning where, or at least early when you got into the game. Union, Kentucky, population 6,000 people, right on the border of northern Kentucky. So how did you get into the game? Walk us through a little bit about your start in the game.
I pretty much had a golf club in my hands my entire life, but growing up, I played all the sports. Basketball, football, soccer. I was just outdoors all the time. Not much to do but be outdoors in Kentucky. Um, but yeah, so just play with my dad growing up, and I was kind of interested, but I just wanted to play other sports. And then when I was 11, my dad signed me up for the 7-Up Junior Tour, which was Northern Kentucky's kind of just junior tour where they had age divisions and you just play all the local courses. And that was really when I got the bug, just playing with other kids my age and kind of competing against them rather than just going out with dad. I love playing with my dad, but playing with your peers and competing against them adds a little more fun to it, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So that was really when things started to ramp up. So just played that kind of local stuff for a couple years, and then when I was probably 13 is when I started traveling a little bit. Going further south in Kentucky and playing a few tournaments in the winter in Florida, and then getting into AJGAs in high school. I wouldn't say I was late, but you hear of all these kids playing tournaments when they're 7 or 8, and
right.
I kind of didn't really get ramped up until I was like 11 to 13.
And you said that you played a lot with your dad, then obviously got into playing with kids your age. But do you remember the first time you maybe had a chance to beat your dad, or did he let you win, or like walk me through like how you, because I'm kind of taking us to this thing where basically you're the youngest player to ever win the North Kentucky Men's Amateur. You won it at 16. So I'm kind of curious, and I think a lot of listeners would be curious, how do you get the winning mindset that early?
My dad, I'm not sure the first time I beat my dad, actually, but my dad actually takes pride in saying that the last time he beat me was when I was 12.
Okay. All right.
So that was the last time he beat me, but I'm not sure the first time that I beat him, actually.
So you're playing these junior events, you go on this great success, and I always like to ask about, what was your setup as a kid? Were you kind of a, kid that picked the range at a public course, or did you have a nice junior program at a club? So talk to me about Triple Crown Country Club, which of course has to be named that when you're that close, when you're in Kentucky. So talk to me through your setup at Triple Crown.
Yeah, well, actually, so I came to Triple Crown when I was a freshman in high school. And so before that, I was actually at a course called Eagle Creek Country Club, which is a little south of where I was at. And we put the country in country club.
Okay.
People rolling up in jeans and a t-shirt.
Yes.
Just good old boys having a good time.
Love golf like that.
Yeah, and our range was kind of just like a par 3 tee box, and then it had like 3 flags, and so like had to pay for balls. So I didn't hit a lot of golf balls growing up. I just go out and play all day. My parents would drop me off at the course and hang out with a few buddies and just play all day. And sometimes I'd have a few range sessions where I just actually go out onto the range, not on the tee box, and just hit balls at the flags when I was out on the range. Yeah. So that was kind of my way, because instead of just paying for a bucket of balls, I'd go out and onto the range and just hit like however many balls I could onto the range. But the course was 6,000 yards. And when I was it was great to learn, all the facets of the game at a young age. But when I got to freshman year, I was like, all right, like my game's not going to get to the next level if I stay here. So we moved over to Triple Crown. Well, we didn't move. We actually just changed clubs. And actually, Triple Crown is much closer to my house than Eagle Creek was. But yeah, so we went over there my freshman year, and it's a golf cart community. So like it's a neighborhood with a golf course in it. Everyone knows everyone. Just take your golf cart to the course and just have a good time. But there's It's a great course. Kentucky Open's there this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
So
You might add that to your schedule if you can.
yeah, if I can, it's in the summer, and I just got Canada status as well, so I'm gonna kind of look at things and see what happens with that. So if the schedule allows, I'd love to play in that. Just I mean, it'd be an awesome time and be at home. So if the schedule allows, I'd love to play in that for sure.
You mentioned, you put the country and country club at Eagle Creek, and I'm just thinking about just like, being 12 or 13 and the cast of characters that you probably met and played golf with. I'm guessing you're playing with older guys that may or may not roll up with their own cooler of beer. Can you think about maybe one or two characters that probably every club like this has characters like that? Um, I'm sure there's got to be a casual game that you've played in that you're like, I can't believe I'm playing with this guy.
There wasn't a lot of like money games per se at Eagle Creek, but there was always, that like crowd of older guys that were just like, just love to see you hit the ball
Right.
and just would like kind of take you under your wing and, just good old boys out in the country and just have a good time. Not really many rules. Just, I mean, if you're not having fun, don't be out there.
There you go. There you go. So you win the Northern Kentucky men's amateur at age 16. I'm guessing that gets you all the attention you need in order to find a college that's going to want you on their team. You end up going to Cincinnati. You're in this area right next to Cincy. You're right next to Indianapolis. You're just in this hub of D1 schools. Was it always going to be Cincinnati, or how did that happen?
Actually, I grew up a really big Wildcat fan. Being from Kentucky, my grandparents have season tickets, and so like that was kind of my school. And growing up, being really close to Cincinnati, I kind of knew all the guys on the Cincinnati team, and where it wasn't really like the first choice on my radar because the program wasn't in a great spot. But in the recruiting process, like midway through high school, we got a new AD, and the scholarships were ramped up, and so that brought in new recruits, and the program was getting better, and kind of just realized that if I wanted to take my game to the next level and to the places I wanted to go, then Cincinnati was probably the place because of the experience that Coach Martin has. So like with what he has done with the program at Cincinnati, I could kind of see the direction it was heading in, and just like each year getting better, it kind of just evolved into the place that I wanted to go and the place that could take me to the next level.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm assuming that that playing professionally is something that you want to do. You make this leap to Cincinnati, and I'm looking at your stats. I'm trying to see some sort of a trend or see something that jumps out. And normally I'm not a stats guy where I'm saying, okay, I'll just depend on the stats to pretend that I know a player. I'm not. That's kind of not what I like to do when I learn more about guests that come on the podcast. But I can't help but notice that your freshman year, your stroke average is 76, and then sophomore year it drops to 71.9. So that's a huge jump from freshman to sophomore year. Was there a big thing that changed? Because it looks like that whatever went down between your freshman and sophomore year really set you on this path to finish out your career there and have great success. So can you remember back to what occurred between freshman and sophomore year that put you on this good path?
Absolutely. It was a culmination of things for sure. So like coming into college my freshman year and all throughout my junior career, I was one of those players that had a lot of potential and could put up a good score, but couldn't really do it consistently. And it was kind of like, why is this happening? Like,
right.
why can I shoot a 67 here and the next day it's 80? Like, why is there no consistency? And so when I got to school my freshman year, I was kind of exposed, and me and Coach Martin kind of got down to the thick of it. And my short game and course management were just not good, for lack of a better term. They needed a lot of work, and so a lot. I got a little better during my freshman year, but it was kind of tournament mode, so it's not like just like full out grinding, and you can get a whole lot better. But
Right.
over summer was really when me and coach put a lot of work in, because we met. I mean, luckily I was living in northern Kentucky, so I had the option to meet with him every day of the week if I wanted to. But we met once a week and just specifically worked on short game putting and just like, the fundamentals of the game, because I could always hit the ball pretty well, but if I wasn't putting well, or if I wasn't hitting it well, like I had no chance pretty much.
Okay.
So I basically learned how to play golf my freshman and after my freshman year in that summer. And then like seeing my short game change and like learning how to map out a course and proper strategy kind of gave me more confidence going into sophomore year. And it was like, it just made the game so much easier.
So you said a lot of things there, and I want to follow up on a couple of things. You mentioned about your short game. So are we talking about fundamentals of how to hit shots, or is it also about learning what are the right shots to hit, whether it be keeping the ball lower, adding spin, less spin? Tell me if you can. Tell me a little bit about specifically what changed in your short game.
Yeah, it was a mixture of things. I think a lot of it was learning how to practice. Because when I was in junior golf, I just go to the chipping green and hit the flop shots or hit the spinners, and
Right.
I didn't really ever practice like the actual shots that you have most of the time, like the simple bump and runs where you should get up and down, 90% of the time, to where just learning how to practice those and was a big part of it. So definitely technique with that, and then also like knowing when to play which shot. Just kind of helping my imagination in that regard.
Okay. You work on this, you improve your game. So let's perhaps just to further illustrate something for listeners. So maybe as a junior or in your freshman year, before you really make this change to your approach to the game, if I give you like just a 415-yard par four, pretty much straight away, maybe a couple of fairway bunkers out there, are you just saying, okay, that's driver, just bang it and find it and just put it on the green? Or are you looking at, okay, where's the pin and what's the wind doing and where are my misses? How do you chart out a course in your newfound approach?
In a practice round, I'll probably look at every carry yardage on the bunkers, and then from there, what club I want to hit off the tee, and then shape. So basically, if I'm on the tee, I'll ask myself, okay, what's the club that's going to get me in the fairway most of the time, and then I'll make decisions from there, and then I'll get in the fairway and be like, okay, if the pin's here, where do I need to be, and then just kind of map it out that way. But most of the time in practice rounds, I'm looking at my yardage book and figuring out the distances where I can hit a certain club and I can still miss it, but it creates no trouble for me.
Okay, so you're kind of taking it from the hole backwards and putting yourself in the best position possible.
Exactly. Where when I was growing up in high school, I'd get a yardage book and I'd leave it in my bag. I wouldn't even look at it during the round.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I bet. So I'm assuming coach would always want to see the yardage book out during practice rounds.
Oh yeah. My first tournament in college, I was walking and coach made me get my yardage book out, and it got so tiring, like unzipping my bag, taking the yardage book out, looking at it, and then putting it back, and just that routine. I was like, all right, like let's just keep it in our pocket. Like, yeah.
So what would you say is probably one of one of Coach Martin's rules that just you could not break when you're at Cincinnati?
Probably a big one that we always kind of like joked about on the team, or kind of when somebody did it, it'd be kind of like funny, but at the same time not, because then you're like, oh crap. It was we were never allowed to wear a backwards hat.
Okay, I could see that.
So we always had to have the cat forward, because just got to be respectful, integrity of
Sure.
the game. And so that was something that you saw a kid roll up to practice with a backwards hat and you'd be like, oh, he's about to get it.
Oh boy. Nice. You graduated. Your eligibility, obviously, you graduated. Then you went on to the USAM that year, and that was your last amateur event. But have you spoken to any of the guys, whether they're on the team now or maybe other guys that are still playing amateur golf? That obviously their seasons are over. They're not going to be able to play for a national championship. Have you spoken to anyone about that yet?
Yeah, I've talked to a few of the guys, and it's crazy because they were actually down here in Orlando. I guess that was late February. So I mean, just a couple weeks ago, with full intentions of playing the rest of their season, and now it's over. So I talked to a few of them, and it's just my heart feels for them because they were really excited to get the season going, and it's just gone.
Well, you had a phenomenal career at Cincinnati. I All American career. American Athletic Conference Player of the Year as a sophomore. Obviously, that hard work you put in really paid off. I want to talk a little bit about the U.S. Amateur because you qualified for it in 2017 at LACC. Qualified again for it in 2018, and you went back to back in your qualifiers. And I spoke to Sahith Thagala at Pepperdine about qualifiers when I had him on the podcast, and he had great success. And something about qualifiers. Now you got in back to back years in the USAM, which is 36 holes, very tough qualifier, and you got in at the same club 2 years in a row, Coldstream Country Club. So was this club your only option?
Well, actually, with the Cincinnati golf team, that was our home course. So yeah, it was. I mean, honestly, had, if you will, an unfair advantage of over other players at that course.
Sure.
Play it every day. So that was the main reason why we went out there. And honestly, Cincinnati qualifiers in themselves are fantastic because for U.S. Open locals we have Makatiwa, which is the biggest qualifier in the nation for U.S. Open locals, and last year only one person shot even and was the medalist and
Oh, wow.
and got out. Yeah, and then Coldstream, we have two USAM qualifiers in Coldstream and Camargo, and usually right around even to 5 under for 36 holes gets out. So I mean, if you're just playing solid golf around that area, you can do some damage in some qualifiers.
Well, we're going to talk about 2019 at Pinehurst. I think we could probably fill up an entire episode with what happened to you there at Pinehurst. But I want to before we go that direction, let's talk about 2018. You played in the U.S. Amateur. It was at Pebble Beach. At that moment, best course you've ever seen in your life, or walk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, going into it, I always thought that like Pebble might have been like a little overhyped because of the views. And I was like, you know what, like I just love like a golf course. Like I don't really care about the views as much. And then I went there and I was like, oh my goodness, I take back everything I said. Like this is incredible. Like I've never seen anything like this. And it was just kind of like an out of body experience where like I was just having fun the whole week.
Right.
Like no matter what happened, I was having fun. Like even getting smoked by Victor, I was loving it.
See, that's perfect. I love it when a guest brings up a topic that I feel I might need to tiptoe around. But since you brought it up, I have to follow up on this. Yeah, you lost to Victor Hovland 7-6, and I looked at the actual scores, and he ran off a hell of a lot of birdies. But is that just a case where you're just like, all right, well, I'm going to get smoked here, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it? I mean, is that pretty much it? I mean, just like, all right, well.
Yeah, because I mean, every match I had from the round of 32 and 16, they were both close matches. I mean, I played 37 holes the day prior, and so I wasn't necessarily expecting Victor to come out here and win holes 2 through 8, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty much just playing defense all day. There was never really a position where I could put any pressure on him because we both hit it pretty well. I mean, he obviously hit it a lot better than I did. But I mean, there was probably 2 holes on the front 9 where I just pretty much gave to him. I had a 3 putt on 5, and I hit the water on 6. So I pretty much just gave him those holes. But every other hole, I was pretty much just putting it to 15 feet, and he'd either be just outside of me and make his putt, and then so I'd have to make my 15-footer, or he'd stick it, and I'd have to make my 15-footer. So the whole day, I was pretty much just trying to make a 10 to 15-footer to have holes, and obviously, I was not doing that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get skunked though. I birdied 10, so I got that on him.
There you go. Did you?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the names that played in that USAM, and it's just for anyone that follows the PGA Tour. If you want to see who's going to be on the PGA Tour in the next like 2 or 3 years, just go look down the list of names that are playing in the USAM. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm looking at some of the names that were there that year. I mean, even before you lost to Hovland, you beat Luis Gagne, who made it to the U.S. Open that year, I believe, or what.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just these incredible names that are there. So it might be kind of an easy question looking at what Victor's doing now, but just to kind of talk about the depth of a field at U.S. Amateur, when you saw what Victor was doing and he had this incredible week, but is he that much better than everyone else in the field, or is it just that he's the one that got through and then parlayed it into the professional ranks?
What I picked up from his game was how disciplined he was in his game plan and how good at executing his game plan he was. Because I mean, if you look at his stats, he just drives the crap out of it, and just I feel like he just executes what he's trying to do at such a high level. He's not super flashy with what he does. He doesn't really do anything that's like better than everything else. He just does it so consistently. So that was kind of what I took from his game when he was being so mean to me on the golf course.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it. He just ran through, and I mean, of course, he did the same thing to Bling in the final. So I mean, he beat Bling 6-5, and and that match he had with Cole Hammer in the semis. I mean, that thing was that was an epic one. But you go back to back. So this was not your first and only quarterfinalist appearance in the USAM. You get back. Obviously, you don't have to do qualifying, so you're back to the USAM for Pinehurst. How much of a different experience is it going to a USAM and able to put that on your calendar, knowing you don't have to go through the qualifier?
That was the reason why I decided to stay amateur, because I knew for sure that I was going to be playing in the U.S. Amateur. Because if I would have had to go back to qualifier, there's a chance I play Canadian Q School in the spring and then maybe get status and then turn professional. So the fact that I was exempt for it and knew that I was going to be playing in it kind of made my decision to just take the summer to play amateur golf and have a awesome amateur schedule and just kind of have a good time before turning professional.
You get to Pinehurst, and there's I'm laughing just because of just the craziness of the fact that there's always this playoff to figure out who gets the 60 seeds, whether it's 60 through 64, maybe it's more than that, but this year it was 27 for 3, which is just insane, and you end up outlasting a lot of guys. Cole Hammer, Alex Smalley, Walker Cuppers. You got Kevin O'Connell, who is a U.S. mid-amateur champion. You have Verbula, the British Am champ from Auburn. You have all these guys in this big group, and it's 27 for 3, and you get in as a 64 seed, and then you got to face the number 1 seed, which is Brandon Wu, another Walker Cupper. But before we talk about that match, I had a lot of friends reaching out to me not understanding why it took so damn long to get 27 players through and figure out who would be the 3 guys to get the 62, 3, and 4 seeds. As someone that went through it, can you talk about what that day was like starting? When did you wake up for this thing? When did this thing start?
Yeah, so actually the stroke play was delayed because they didn't get it in the second day. So they were finishing up the next morning, and so I wasn't sure yet if I was going to be in a playoff or not, because it was kind of hovering between 4 and 5. So I just kind of woke up when the guys went out there, got ready, and started warming up, assuming I was going to be in a playoff. And then once guys were finishing, kind of realized that it was going to be at 5, and I think they said it was going to be like a 9:30 start. And I was the first one off, so I went off at 9:30 or whatever time it was, and so we went off in a foursome, and then we all played the first hole, and then you had to wait for, I guess the 23 other players to come through. So everyone played one hole, and we're an hour later.
So,
it was just
so what do
it
you
was
do?
crazy.
Yeah, so you play, you play the hole, and you get through, and you do this playoff, and you make par in the first one. It's a par 4, and like, what do you do for the next hour? And then you had to do this like three other times. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what do you are you just talking to people? Are you checking your phone? Are you able to hit balls even? I mean, what do you do?
Well, so we finished the first hole, and then just waiting for everyone to come through, and I'm thinking, okay, the first hole's not that hard, and so I was thinking I made par, so there's got to be two other guys or three other guys to make birdie, and I was thinking I was going to head home, so I was just kind of hang out with my family, just seeing what would happen. But in that time being, I was just trying to stretch and stay loose in case there is a next hole or whatever. So I'm not stepping up on that next tee box and my back's cracking on
Right.
my backswing. So it was just a lot of stretching and just trying to stay loose as possible.
So that playoff takes, I guess, about 3.5 hours. You get through. You're the 64th seed. You had to go 4 holes to get this, and then now your big treat, your big reward for outlasting this 3.5 hour marathon is you get to play Brandon Wu, coming off a national championship at Stanford, and you're the 64 seed. You are the University of Maryland, Baltimore County going up against Virginia, and you actually pull this off and you beat Wu. For someone that's as competitive as you are and you want to play professionally, what is a lesson that you take away from not just beating him, but then you beat Mazzoli, you beat John Pock in round of 16, but what was maybe a lesson that you took away from that U.S. Amateur that maybe was more beneficial than getting in as the 32 seed and getting the same result?
Yeah, I mean, definitely drew a lot of confidence from that because I went up against some fantastic players, and it was a blast doing that for sure. But I think the main lesson, if you will, that I learned was to just keep playing. And I mean, it's so cliche, but just to stay patient because there was so many situations, and Pinehurst does this to you, where you can just get really impatient and just kind of almost fold. Where I just stayed really patient that week, and it just kind of everything fell in my favor. Um, Except for there was one situation where I did not stay patient, and that was the last 5 holes of stroke play.
Okay.
So I was even par with 5 holes to go, and probably top 15, top 20, because the scores were so high that week. And I played my last 5 holes 5 over to finish at 5 over. So I dropped from like top 15 to I think I was 147 when I finished, and I was just trying to get in the clubhouse, just wasn't being very patient, and so that was probably a good thing because then that kind of spurred me on into match play to just kind of stay in the process and just take care of what I can take care of.
Sure. Like I said, just as great. I bet you just had a blast that summer playing all these fantastic amateur events. I think you played the Son of Hannah, played the Western, played Northeast. Which obviously let's skip the U.S. Amateur, but we'll put that in a separate category. Which amateur tournament are you going to miss the most?
Probably the 2 week stretch of Sunny Hannah and Northeast. Those two events are so awesome. They spoil you so much, and it makes you miss it so much when you're in professional golf and you gotta pay for everything. Where you go to these amateur tournaments and they put you up in a awesome house with an awesome family, and then like every meal's taken care of, and like it honestly just feels like a vacation more than it does a golf tournament. But yeah, those two events, because Sunny Hannah, Tillinghast design, the course is pure, greens are crazy and lightning speed, and then you go up to Wannamoisett and Donald Ross, and honestly, that course if not my favorite, it's one of my favorites that I've played, just because it's gonna last forever, no matter how far everyone's hitting it. I mean, par 69, not that long, but you gotta play some golf and have a short game around that course, and it's just so cool.
You end your amateur career. You now are embarking on a professional route. You just mentioned that you have status on the Mackenzie Tour. You now have status on the LatinAmerica Tour. There are a lot of different options. Obviously, the end goal is to get to the PGA Tour and to win on the PGA Tour. But I'm curious, how do you chart out your approach to professional golf with all these different options? You could be a mini tour guy that just tries to chase Mondays. You can play the state opens. You can, there's so many different directions you can go, and you can go to China. You can go any. How did you kind of make your plan to go this direction?
So basically, I just kind of took it from the end goal. I looked at it as where did I want to be? Where do I see myself? And obviously, for a lot of guys, end goal is PGA Tour. And so I just kind of took it as, okay, what's the fastest way for me to get there? And I think the fastest way to get there, if you don't have the ability to do what Matt Wolf and Victor and Colin did this past year, the fastest way is through Corn Ferry and then either China, Mackenzie, or Latin America. So I went to Q school last year for Corn Ferry, and had to start it at pre-qualifying. So I got through there, and then went to first stage in Lakeland, and that place is just a birdie fest. And so I finished at 10 under, one shot short of getting to second stage. So then next few months I was just kind of like, okay, next step, probably Latin and Canada, just try and give myself as many opportunities. So I just kind of played mini tour events in that time being, just getting ready for Latin and Canadian Q school. And I kind of had the idea, because Latin splits their schedule, where they play spring and fall. I was like, all right, I want to do both. I'll try and double dip and get as much opportunity I can, because why not? So basically, my approach, assuming everything goes back to normal, is just to play I got first 8 starts in Latin, and so gonna play those and see how those go, and then go into Canada. And by the time Latin starts up, I'll have enough starts in Latin and Canada to kind of figure out which events to play, because they kind of overlap towards the end of Canada and beginning of the second half of Latin schedule. So to kind of recap all of that, I said a lot.
No, you're
but
good.
My kind of just wanted to give myself as much opportunity as possible to get to that next level, whatever that looks like. So just playing a bunch of Q schools, because you see a lot of guys playing a bunch of mini tour events and making pretty good money for mini tour events, but kind of what I had on my mind was just progress, getting to that next level. Because Q school is expensive, so there's a lot of guys that kind of opt out of it just because of that. And I was like, you know what, like, if I want to get to that next level, I gotta go this way.
I know there are probably tons of things that you've already learned by being a professional just in this short amount of time, but things that you've learned as a professional that perhaps you didn't even think of until you actually got there and started surrounding yourself with guys that are trying to do the same thing you're doing. They're trying to play professionally or trying to do this for a living. Maybe what are some of the things that you've learned that maybe has surprised you?
You always hear about it that, like, in professional golf, everyone's good. And, like, you don't really realize it until you get out here, and, like, the guy that you're beating every week in college is now beating you, and you're like, wow, how did this happen? Because in college, you can shoot even to 5 under every week and have one of the best careers in college, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But in professional golf, you got to shoot 5 under most days to keep up. And so kind of just that mentality of showing up every day and knowing that I I gotta play good. Like, I can't just shoot even out here and walk home and be satisfied. I gotta keep on going lower. And, I think that's kind of motivated me to understand that, like, when I'm low, to just keep on going. Cause that's kind of what I did in college. Was I'd be 3 under and be like, okay, I can cruise.
I'm here. I'm coasting. I did
Yeah.
enough. Okay.
Yeah. Where, like, you get to 3 under through 9, it's like, okay, like, the guy right next to me is 4 under. We gotta go lower. Um, so I think that's just kind of been really motivating, and kind of seeing how other guys do it. Just everyone out here can get the ball up and down from anywhere and make a putt. So, um, when people tell younger kids to practice your short game, they ain't kidding.
So this far, you mentioned something about Wanamoisa, the Northeast. You mentioned something about the fact that it's a par 69 and it's a short course, but you still have to play. I know that distance is something that really dominates the game of golf right now, and especially on the pro ranks. And I was talking to Colt Knost, and he just retired from the PGA Tour, and he was just saying how it seems that a lot of the younger guys are coming up, and it's all about launch angles and carrying the ball and just hit it out there and send it as far as you can and just find it, hack it on, make some putts, and perhaps that the skill level isn't what it used to be. How do you balance, distance, but also have the ability to, hit a cut 7-iron up into the wind, or, have these unique shots and deal with situations where you have to be a ball striker?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, And honestly, I would consider myself a longer hitter, but I think I play in a shorter hitter's mindset,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I kind of, like, use my link to an advantage to kind of give myself the best opportunities. So, like, a lot of courses where some guys are hitting driver, I'll pull 3-wood or a 2-iron and be a little shorter than them, but hitting the same club or something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, just kind of continuing to make my game versatile. Like, there's never a time where you conquer every shot. So just setting up on the range, and instead of just hitting balls and trying to get in good positions, like trying to work it into flags and stuff like that, like you were saying, like, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
It's to be able to hit shots that other guys can't. It's what separates people. I mean, you look at Tiger, like, there's shots that he hits that other guys can't, because he's practiced those shots.
No, that's well said. I want to get you out of here. I can't not mention the fact that if anyone pulls up a picture of you online, they will see that you are wearing a FootJoy shirt or a Titleist hat. So you are partnered up with Titleist, and
Mm-hmm.
whenever I get the chance to embarrass any of my guests, especially if they are professionals, I just can't resist that. So tell me about the first time that you realized that you're going to be getting some free stuff from Titleist, wedges, shirts, hats, whatever. Did you have a rookie moment where your friends at Titleist or FootJoy had to pull you aside and say, okay, you're a professional now. You can't act like a kid on Christmas getting free stuff all the time. This is like your job. Did you have any moments like that where you had to kind of catch yourself being kind of a kid in a candy store?
I can't really think of any, but like, sophomore year was when I first got the deal. That I think they put me on their elite amateur program, and so that was kind of like my first feeling of, oh wow, this is awesome. Like, I get free stuff, like, awesome.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny, like, Bubba,
Yeah.
one of my FootJoy guys. I love that guy. But it was kind of funny. I was always sometimes, like, afraid to ask for too much,
Right.
because I didn't want to take advantage of it. So he actually was like, man, you gotta ask for more stuff. Like, I know there's stuff that you need that you're not asking for. I was like, okay, like, you're right.
Well, because you probably think like, hey, I'm not Adam Scott. I'm not Webb Simpson. I don't know what I'm supposed to ask for. Like, so what was the first thing you asked for that made you uncomfortable, or that like you had to step out of your comfort zone and say, hey, I need this, I need that.
Yeah, I think the first time I asked for some My Joys, where I
Oh,
could customize my own.
right.
That was the first time I was like, all right, this might be a little sketch, but we're gonna go for it because these are sick.
Yeah, I heard you're a wingtip guy. I got some people out there that are like, yeah, this guy, he likes the wingtips.
Yeah, the wingtips, and I'm kind of on a icon traditional phase right
Icons,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, they're I've had my fair share of wingtips, but I'm on the traditionals right now, just the saddles. They're kind of fitting my style right now, but
This is turning into a Titleist FootJoy episode. They're not
Oh yeah.
they're not sponsoring this episode, by the way. But so how
is this ambush marketing?
This is, I think this, I don't know what this is, but I was like, I'm just curious. You guys get these deals, and it's like at some point you're not. I mean, I don't picture you. We've never met, but just by talking to you, I don't picture you as the guy rolling into the Titleist trailer with a big order and then saying, "Yeah, I need these bent and these ground down." And are you a wedge stamp guy?
A little.
Okay.
So that I have on all my wedges, I have my initials stamped on there, AS.
Right.
So I'm not going to sell them and say they're Adam Scott's. That's just not right. But I got.
But you thought of it apparently. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got the same initials, so who wouldn't think about it?
Of course.
But yeah, and then one of my favorite things about my wedges is I do them in 5-degree increments. So I have a pitching wedge that's 45 degrees, and then a gap wedge 50 degrees, and then sand wedge 55, and my 60 is 60, obviously.
Sure.
So my 45 and 55 are bent, and so they have little degrees, like 55 degrees and 45 degrees stamped on them, and that's just kind of cool, just a little thing. But I'm hoping one day me and Aaron Dill can come up with something in our imagination, make them really cool. But for the time being, I'll just stick with my initials.
There you go. Well, Austin, I appreciate you coming on. I know it's a kind of a challenging time for anyone that is, starting a career in any field. And I know you're starting it, trying to be, a professional golfer playing on the PGA Tour. So I know it's a challenging time. I appreciate you taking time out and talking to me. And, hopefully we'll do this again soon, and we'll get out on the golf course again soon.
I know. I need this mojo to kick in.
All of the mojo is safe here. It is waiting to be distributed to everyone that comes onto the podcast to get them out and get them successful. So we'll do it again soon. I appreciate you stopping by the back of the range, and all the best to you. Stay safe.
All right, you too. Appreciate it.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Austin Squires for joining me here today at the back of the range. Make sure you're following along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. A lot of that information is available in the show notes of this episode. If you have any questions, go to thebackoftherange.com and shoot me an email, ben@thebackoftherange.com. We'll see you next time here for another episode at the Back of the Range.